Greetings from the great state of Texas, and welcome everyone to my Word of the Week. Today I want to talk about be a doer of the Word. James chapter 1, verse 22 says, "But be doers of the Word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves." Now that word there, word, it's the Greek word logos here in this passage, and it goes back to the word of truth in verse 18, where James said in verse 18, "Of his own will he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of his creatures." And it's very important to understand that sometimes when ministers teach the book of James and they teach this word here, be doers of the word, they kind of use the word in general, like Genesis to Revelation. Just be doers of the word. And that is correct. And Jesus is the word from Genesis to Revelation. But in context here, specifically, he's talking about, again, the word of truth. So be doers of the word of truth, which is the gospel. And when James said, "but be," this is important as well. In the Greek, it's a present middle imperative, which what that means, it means keep on becoming. Again, keep on becoming. So James here is emphasizing who we are becoming and not just our doing. And so many times when this passage is thought of, be doers of the word, people think of doers of the word as activity. Be active in your church because James said be doers of the word. You got to start a program to be a doer of the word. Be doing more. Just do more. Do more because James said be doers of the word. And so many times people think of be doers of the word here is just simply as the activity we're doing. But James, in reality, what he's talking about, he was emphasizing who we are becoming and not just our doing. And yes, for sure, it does speak of as well the expression of that implanted word. Did you get that? And yes, for sure, it does speak of as well the expression of that implanted word. And it does include our activity, definitely. But it's not just limited to our just doing. It's talking and speaking primarily of becoming. Now, James said this, be doers of the word. And that word doer there is the Greek word poieto. And it means this, to make something. It means to express what's in one's heart. Again, to make something. To express what's in one's heart. And normally back in James's day and in ancient days, whenever that word poieto was used, it normally referred to a poet writing a poem or a painter painting a picture. You know, when a poet writes a poem or a painter is painting a picture. And when a poet writes a poem, normally what happens, and this is the word picture behind the Greek word poieto, or doer of the word, is that that poet or that painter has something already in their spirit. They got the word, they got the thoughts, it's already there. The painter has already got the mental picture in their mind. And poieto is when that poet or that painter actually takes the pen or brush and begins to physically express what is in their spirit. They got the word, they got the thoughts, it's already there. Does that make sense? And to express on the inside, to express on the outside what's already on the inside. And that's the ideal of ultimately of a doer of the word. You're not doing something to get something on the inside. You're doing something because you already have something on the inside. And what you have on the inside is that engrafted or that implanted word of truth, the gospel on the inside. And what James is emphasizing here is not just something, not doing something to get. It's doing something because you already got. And it lines up with the whole rest of the New Testament, the whole Word of God. You're not doing to be righteous. You're expressing an outward form of what you already have on the inside. And that is the righteousness of God. Be doers of the Word. And so being a doer of the Word means to faithfully express one's life what Christ, that implanted word of truth, has already done in one's heart. Faithfully expressing it. Did you get that? Being a doer of the word means to faithfully express in one's life what Christ, that implanted word of truth, has already done in one's heart. Faithfully expressing it. You could say it this way. What James is saying here, don't have a secret Jesus. Don't have a secret righteousness. Don't just say I got it and keep on living your life any way you want to. That's not the way it works. And you could add this thought to it, being a doer of the word. You can say continually expressing faith in Christ and what he's done for us at Calvary. And Hebrews chapter 11 is a perfect example of what it means to be a doer of the word. In Hebrews chapter 11, over and over again, example after example of the patriarchs in the Old Testament who expressed by faith, or their faith in God was expressed. It was manifested in some way. For example, Abraham by faith left the country he was from and went to a country he had never been before. And so by faith he did that. By faith Abraham obeyed God. He did something. He physically left the land of Ur and went to a different country. By faith he did that. And by faith it says Noah was moved with fear and built an ark. Now, how did the writer of Hebrews explain what was at the very root of it? It was by faith he did that. And sometimes when we think of faith, we think of something in which we don't do anything. We just believe, and we all say it sometimes. It's not in our doing, it's in our believing. Which that is a very true statement. But at the same time, it has to be understood in its context. That statement, it's not in our doing, it's in our believing. That's speaking of us being righteous in the eyes of God. And it's true. Faith is at the very root of it all. But faith is going to cause you to do something. And Hebrews chapter 11 is a perfect example. You see, my friend, faith brings a change. Faith in the implanted word brings a change. Jesus brings a change, and it needs to be expressed. It needs to be continued. Did you get that? Faith brings a change. Faith in the implanted word brings a change. Jesus brings a change. And it needs to be expressed. It needs to be continued. And James said here, be doers of the word and not hearers only. And that term hearers only was a term used in James's time to describe audit students. The ideal of an audit student goes back a long, long time ago, even in James's day. In the Greek world, the Roman world of that day, there would be classes that were taught. Most of the time it was Greek philosophy, Greek mythology, Greek idolatry, but it included math and other things like that. But when those things were taught, they actually had audit students. And that whole ideal of an audit student, it began in ancient Greek and in Roman days. And an audit student hears the lectures, but views the exams as optional. They don't have to take the exam. That's an audit student. And James is using it in a negative way. But my friend, you know what? Many Christians, they're audit Christians. They're hearers only. They're not taking it for credit. You see, they just want to listen and listen only and leave and just keep on going on with their life. That's the ideal here. James said don't do that. Don't be hearers only. He wasn't coming against hearing. James doesn't say they shouldn't hear the word. Of course they need to hear the word. But what James is saying, don't be a hearer only. Kind of like a warm body just filling up space. Just hearing the word and then walking away, and that word doesn't have an impact at all. And you're no longer practicing the word that's been implanted on the inside. And it's a sad fact that many Christians are like that. They're just audit Christians. You see, my friend, they don't want to take the exams. They don't want to take the test. They don't want to go through that. They just want to categorize their relationship with God. It's God here, then it's my life. And you know what's interesting? Is that was happening in James's day. And how much more is it happening today in our time? It's happening so much. And you know what it shows us? It shows us it's a people problem. It's a flesh problem. It's a sin problem, and it's always been. So the ideal of Christians categorizing God, that's not something new. It's been that way always. It was even under the old covenant with Israel. Now James said here, if you do that, if you're a hearer only, he said you deceive yourself. Which that word deceive there in this passage, literally it means to miscalculate. It's a powerful thought here. It means to miscalculate. It means an incorrect reckoning. Again, to miscalculate. It means an incorrect reckoning. Have you ever been adding up your money and you miscalculated how much money you had? And you go and you try to purchase something and you can't purchase it, whatever it is you're trying to purchase, because you miscalculated. And that's an innocent example. When we've done that, we were self-deceived. We thought we had something, and in reality we didn't. And James is really bringing this out here. It speaks of self-deception, a wrong conclusion about one's condition before God. Now get this. If we have received the implanted word, but then there's no expression of it, we're not allowing it to bring a change in our life. And ultimately, it's because of selfishness and pride. James will deal with that in chapter 2. That's ultimately the reason why. Selfishness and pride. And unbelief. And we just let that implanted word of truth lay dormant there. And we keep on hearing, but that's all we're doing is just hearing. James said we are deceiving ourselves. We've come to a wrong conclusion about our real spiritual condition before God. What a sad fact that is, because it describes so many in the church today. So many Christians today, they think everything is fine before God and everything is wonderful. But in reality, it's not. So our prayer should be, God, help me. Not to be just a hearer only, but let your word take root in me. That engrafted word, that implanted word of truth, the gospel. Let me receive it with meekness. Let it take root in me, that it brings about a change in me, that I won't be just a hearer only. My friend, what a powerful statement James made here. But be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. So again, our prayer should be, God help me, not to be just a hearer only, but let your word take root in me, that engrafted word, that implanted word of truth, the gospel. Let me receive it with meekness. Let it take root in me, that it brings about a change in me, that I won't be just a hearer only. So my friend, keep the faith and God will see you through. And that concludes this message on be a doer of the word. God bless.